Why Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is bringing Lance Barber back after George Sr.'s young Sheldon death. Young Sheldon has had its fair share of emotional moments, but few hit as hard as George Sr.'s tragic death. The beloved character, played by Lance Barber, had become a staple of the show, balancing humor, heart, and the weight of Sheldon's complex family dynamics. However, his death, which was inevitable given the timeline set by The Big Bang Theory, left a major void in the series. Now, with Georgie and Mandy's wedding on the horizon, young Sheldon has found a perfect way to bring Lance Barber back, despite George Sr.'s passing. This move isn't just about nostalgia or fan service. It's a meaningful narrative choice that deepens the emotional core of the show. By exploring George Sr.'s presence, in flashbacks, dreams, or even heartfelt memories, young Sheldon can pay tribute to a character who played such an integral role in the Cooper family. Honoring George Sr.'s legacy in Georgie and Mandy's wedding. Georgie's wedding presents a significant moment in the Cooper family's journey. As the eldest son, Georgie has always had a unique, albeit sometimes strained, relationship with his father. While young Sheldon often focuses on Sheldon and Mary's perspectives, the bond between George Sr. and Georgie was a compelling and often underappreciated element of the show. With George Sr. gone, young Sheldon has an opportunity to revisit this relationship through Lance Barber's return. Whether it's through heartfelt flashbacks of advice George Sr. once gave his son, or a dream sequence where Georgie imagines his father's presence at his wedding, bringing Barber back ensures that George Sr.'s influence remains strong, even in death. Georgie's journey has always been one of proving himself, often struggling to step out of his father's shadow while also yearning for his approval. A flashback to a pivotal moment between father and son, perhaps a scene where George Sr. imparts wisdom about marriage or responsibility, could give deeper emotional weight to Georgie's wedding. This would allow the show to explore how much George Sr.'s guidance continues to shape Georgie, even in his absence. A cathartic moment for the Cooper family. George Sr.'s passing undoubtedly left a void, especially for Mary and the kids. Sheldon's grief will likely be explored more deeply as the show progresses, but Georgie's perspective is equally important. Young Sheldon has subtly highlighted how much Georgie has taken on since his father's death, supporting his mother, stepping up as a father to baby Cease, and navigating adulthood without George Sr. there to guide him. By bringing Lance Barber back, young Sheldon can give Georgie, and the audience, a cathartic moment. Whether it's through a quiet reflection, an imagined conversation, or a heartfelt speech about his father, Georgie's wedding could serve as a powerful tribute to George Sr. This would allow the show to address lingering grief while celebrating how George Sr.'s legacy lives on in his children. Mary, too, could benefit from a moment like this. Her grief, while often overshadowed by her strict religious beliefs and responsibilities, is undoubtedly still there. A wedding is an emotional event, and it's easy to imagine Mary reflecting on the life she and George Sr. built together. A scene where she shares a memory of their own wedding, or recalls a moment of joy with her late husband, would add depth to her character's arc. Sheldon's perspective, processing loss through memory. For Sheldon, George Sr.'s death was a formative experience, shaping much of his personality in The Big Bang Theory. However, young Sheldon offers a unique opportunity to explore how young Sheldon processes this loss in real time. While Sheldon isn't the sentimental type, a wedding is an event that forces emotions to the surface. Seeing Georgie get married might trigger memories of their father, perhaps recalling a time when George Sr. encouraged Georgie, or even a humorous moment that showcases the warmth hidden beneath George Sr.'s gruff exterior. A scene where Sheldon watches Georgie step into a role their father would have played, whether it's giving a speech, dancing with Mandy, or simply being a responsible husband and father, could serve as a poignant realization. It might be the first time Sheldon truly sees his brother as a man shaped by their father's influence, offering a moment of quiet appreciation that adds layers to their sibling dynamic. How Lance Barber's return enhances the narrative. From a storytelling perspective, Lance Barber's return as George Sr. makes perfect sense. His character's absence has already left a noticeable gap in the Cooper family dynamic, and bringing him back, even briefly, can provide emotional closure for both the characters and the audience. There are several creative ways young Sheldon could reintroduce George Sr. Flashbacks. The most straightforward option is using past scenes to showcase moments between George Sr. and Georgie. This could be done through home videos, a shared memory between family members, or Georgie recalling a key piece of advice his father once gave him. Dream sequences. Young Sheldon has occasionally dabbled in more stylized storytelling, and a dream sequence featuring George Sr. would be a fitting way to bring back Lance Barber. In this scenario, Georgie might have a dream where his father gives him wedding advice, or simply shares a moment of pride, giving Georgie the closure he never got in real life. Imagined conversations. The Big Bang Theory often used Sheldon's inner thoughts to drive humor and insight, and young Sheldon could use a similar approach. Georgie, struggling with wedding nerves, might imagine a conversation with his dad, allowing Barber to deliver a heartfelt and possibly humorous scene. Old letters or voicemails. Another subtle yet impactful way to bring George Sr. back could be through a previously unheard voicemail, letter, or note left behind. If George Sr. had once written down advice for his son, only for Georgie to find it years later, it could serve as an emotional anchor for the wedding. The bigger picture. George Sr.'s lasting influence. While George Sr. is physically gone, his impact remains woven into the fabric of young Sheldon. His struggles, his love for his family, and his often overlooked wisdom continue to shape the Coopers long after his passing. Lance Barber's return isn't just about bringing back a beloved character. It's about reinforcing how deeply George Sr. mattered. His death was heartbreaking, but his influence lives on in his children's choices, their memories, and the lessons he left behind. As young Sheldon moves forward, Georgie and Mandy's wedding is a perfect opportunity to acknowledge this. By bringing Barber back, the show can provide a deeply satisfying emotional moment, one that reminds viewers that while loss is painful, love and memory keep those we cherish alive in our hearts. In the end, George Sr. may be gone, but his presence will always be felt in the Cooper family. And for a show that thrives on heart and humor, what better way to honor that than by giving him one last moment with his son?